the end of COVID, if I may be a little crass talking about that period of time where they
Oh,
also
yeah.
got us to stand in line and wait for food,
Mm-hmm.
just like they're going to do with your digital ID, that's going to become a digital rationing card. And you're going to make you stand in line and wait for food again using a different mechanism.
What?
Just say no to it before the mechanism even starts. Haven't we
Yeah.
been fooled once already? I mean,
If we expect everything to be at Kroger's, then why are we mad when Kroger is doing what they're doing? Like, this is what they can do because we gave over our ability to feed ourselves to corporations, right? When I was over in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, I met this man, and I was over there working with Brighteon and doing their evening news as well as my own show. And I've had David Devine on here. Here's David right now. David, good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for being here. Let me get myself tuned in here with you. Bam! Sitting right next to you. Look at that. Oh,
all
it's
right,
magic.
best buddies sitting in the room.
That's
You know,
it.
there is something good that came out of the government shutdown. I think is
Yeah.
the illusions being exposed and the awareness of the fraud. Like, you know, you'd mentioned DBT. I did several videos on that, just showing the ridiculousness of it,
Mm-hmm.
people's entitlement of it. Like, you taxpayers work for us. Why would I get a job? And then the Section 8,
Yeah.
the housing, the same thing, the fraud that was going on of just so many thousands of dollars, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just getting stripped away while we come out here, work and pay taxes. And
Yeah.
the abuses were just, it was so in your face. I'd
Yeah.
never seen a segment of society like that. It was disturbing,
They
actually
were
disturbing.
they were arrogant about it. But I mean,
Oh, it was worse than that. It was, yeah, it was like people actually, there's a huge segment of society,
yeah.
you know, even if you're talking 1% or half of a percent in the United States or a tenth of 1%, you're still talking millions,
Yeah. But
have
let me
that
ask.
same mentality of,
Let
you
me.
go to work for us, tax slaves, because we get stuff for free. Now you better go back to work and make sure we got free lives. I was
Right.
astounded they were so crass the way they were coming at it as you owe us. We're never going to work. Although
Right.
we'll live in poor places, but we're never going to work. Like, that was just disgusting.
My observation of it. We just turn the volume off of the video, right? Or the whatever it is they're doing, the picture. And let's look at the individual and go, can you go 30, 40, 50 days without food without us really noticing? Because a lot of these people who are out there banging the drum the hardest about, I'm going to starve to death on November 1. I'm like, ma'am, you ain't starving to death between now and the end of the year. So a lot of these people tend to be a little overweight, which is a lot of processed food, a lot of inflammation, really not fat, not really nutrients are stored in the body. But that was the part I was really insulted by, is they're holding their EBT card and their bag of Cheetos, talking about how they're going, you know, I'd have no sympathy for someone who, I guess, hasn't bothered to learn how to fish, but they want me to give them the fish. Does that make sense?
It does. And during that time, I'd gone off to a couple food banks locally around where I live, not as far as Pigeon Forge, but they were saying that because of that, all the food banks were stretched at least 15% over their maximum that they'd ever done, ever.
Okay.
And the donations they were really looking for were canned green beans and peanut butter.
Ugh.
Or not so much green beans, but canned vegetables and peanut butter. Those were their two number one asks.
Right.
And I was thinking, all right, well, at least we had a social net that could have worked. And then I was surprised nobody talked about, again, training them how to grow vegetables or start community gardens. That should have been number one. Everybody complains, EBT, shut down, whatever. You can't grow food. You need to go out and do community gardens. I know it is wintertime, but there's a lot of disused office buildings with a lot of glass in the front of them that could be used as something. Training needs to come with this, not just sitting there saying, well, the whole reason I wanted to come on and talk is because your wheelhouse over there is the river of politics and those workings of how things are being changed. So you're very adept at understanding that change mechanism going on the political side of things. Where I'm over here on this side going, magnetic field just declined further.
Yeah.
We had this, gigantic solar storm. The copper supply chain is fracturing your power grid, your communications, your entire electrical infrastructure depends on it. While the mainstream media is asleep, the U.S. government is making emergency moves to secure domestic supplies. And if you understand what that means, you already know where it's going. The U.S. government just issued a direct order, immediate measures to increase American mineral production. They specifically named the Palmer Project in Alaska as a priority. It isn't wishful thinking, it's a White House directive. Palmer has 3.5 billion in copper, zinc, and critical minerals already in the ground, road access to port, and a defined resource ready to move. The government's signaling this project gets fast-tracked. Vizsla Copper just acquired Palmer, same team that built Vizsla Silver into a billion-dollar company. They're not guessing, they're executing. They control over 1.7 billion pounds of copper at their 2 flagship properties, and now they're positioned directly inside America's critical minerals strategy. When the government names your project as a solution, that's not luck, that's positioning. Here's what matters. Owning physical government-backed domestic mineral supply is one of the most direct ways to prepare for what's coming. When supply chains tighten, and they will, the asset sitting in the ground with government backing is what holds value. Other Alaskan projects with a level of support moved over 200%. Vizsla Copper trades under the ticker VCUFF in the U.S. and VCU.V in Canada. It's now the focal point of America's copper solution. Position accordingly. Do your own research, but don't sleep on the signal. Thanks to Vizsla Copper Corp for sponsoring today's video. You can get their latest presentation here on their website, VizslaInvestorDeck.com/ADAPT2030. Vizsla Copper Corp. Check out the possibilities. That's Vizsla-Investor-Deck.com/ADAPT2030. Click on that link in the description box below.
Hey,
Aurora's
wait,
down to
does
Texas,
that make
Aurora's
me
down to
lighter?
Florida.
If the magnetic field is less, do I get lighter? Does that mean I weigh lighter?
Yeah, you're going to float away, grab onto something.
I'm going to fall into space if I don't.
The helium balloon's going to work twice as effectively. Those kids at the parties, they're just going to disappear.
Yeah, I know I'm screwing with you. Well, the fact that we are actually able to measure those things is actually a benefit to a lot of stuff, but we ignore so many patterns, and that's where you come into play. You've actually been studying a lot of environmental patterns, magnetic patterns, social patterns, and seeing the things. Now, Apple just released a statement or has released a little thing that they're going to be super, super, duper, duper, duper healthy with the iPhone and putting your passport and your medical records and all your good stuff in your little wallet. Did you hear that? They're just going to help the government out with that. They're just going to be real cool like that. Do you hear that? Did you hear about that?
I did, but you're allowed to refuse right now. So if enough people refuse, that stops on the, just like everything else stopped, at the end of COVID, if I may be a little crass talking about that period of time where they also got us to stand in line and wait for food, just like they're going to do with your digital ID, that's going to become a digital rationing card. And you're going to make you stand in line and wait for food again using a different mechanism. What? Just say no to it before the mechanism even starts. Haven't we been fooled once already? I mean, I see it come again. I mean, fool me once. People at the front door need to stop. I'm not going to no longer play the game. That's when it stopped. Yeah. When enough people said no more.
Right. Well, it's the dogs, children, and the government need to be told no more often because it makes them better. So you just tell the government and dogs and children no, and it makes them better. What do you mean no? Well, there's too many people complying though, right?
What had happened during COVID, coming back to that period of time?
Yeah.
All governments in the world in unison, lockstep, did something never in human history they'd done before. They all moved as a unified school of fish, even North Korea. Now, come on. All these outland, Ethiopia, Eritrea, these places, even in civil war that were going on in South Sudan, they all moved too over to do the COVID vaccine. Are you telling me, you can't be telling me, really, every country on the planet did? Okay, so you knew something was coming up, and my studies of grand solar minima and crop production declines across the globe, reducing global crop yields, like global amount of food available, was starting to hit in and be noticeable and measurable. And then COVID came, and I was, this is definitely. But now they're taking it to another step further, where food is the focal point of this. Your carbon credit scores on how much carbon was produced during this time of whatever it was to produce the food and bring it to market, whether it was a cow, this much emissions in methane, whether it was a truck to bring in this many kilometers or this many miles, whether it was on an airplane, or I was on a ship. All right, they're allotting a carbon score to even like a sandwich. I saw them in England. A sandwich is like 8 kilograms of carbon was emitted to give you this sandwich. Now, in the future, there's going to be a limit to how much of the kilograms production you can eat per day or per month. And this is where this digital rationing card comes in. Tesco in the UK is already trying this as we speak. It's on the packaging already.
So the largest grocer over there, Tesco, is actually doing this as a carbon footprint to panic people into remembering that when they were tardy in third grade, it'll be on their permanent record. So Tesco is now doing this as a carbon footprint of food? Is that what you're saying?
And also to ruin your recess. They're putting limits in on what you can buy. So remember during like 2022, it was like
Right.
one bag of rice or two bags of rice per person.
Right.
They're preemptively doing this on their customers, but at the same time, these limits at being installed, the algorithm is not going to allow you to like drive across London and go to another Tesco because you're having a party and you need like 10 bags of something, but you can only get 5 on that particular trip. So you're going to skirt around town and go to the next Tesco and get 5 more. And their algorithm will not allow you. It's like on a monthly allowance now. Even though you're paying for that club card,
Right.
you're going to be restricted on what you can buy, and you won't be able to go to other places to purchase even more. It's already started in England. I'm terrified because that's the seed point this time.
Yeah. Well, isn't so this is where we got to get educational about knowing that tobacco plants are superfoods. They have protein 3, protein 4 in it, P3, P4. We need to know about what things around our environment actually feeds us, because if we have a digital asset that is going to be manipulating our ability to function, the ability to get away from that will be the freedom and liberty, right?
Will, you're talking about tobacco as in rolling and smoking tobaccos?
The tobacco plant is actually a superfood.
It absolutely is. I grew some tobacco last year.
Yeah, you can eat the leaves and the stem and all the other stuff. That the actual tobacco plant is got all kinds of cool nutrients. It's actually really good for the body, the nicotine in it. So there's all these different things about the tobacco plant. But yet, if we don't know how to go out in our backyard and pluck a nut off a lagoon tree, or I say a lagoon, not a nut, but a lagoon off of a tree, and be able to manage that with the husk and everything else. If we expect everything to be at Kroger's, then why are we mad when Kroger is doing what they're doing? Like, this is what they can do because we gave over our ability to feed ourselves to corporations, right?
And that was taught to us in schooling as well. Yeah. But a number one thing, there's an enormous amount of black walnuts coming down. Now you see them all over the roads, squishing all over the place right now. How many people know how to take that from that husk, wash it, get to what the outer coating skin, wash that, get to the husk, dry it enough, dehydrate it enough, rehydrate it, and then so that skin comes off the wall there, and when you crack it, the walnut falls out pretty easily versus getting in there and digging out with like a needle or something.
Yeah. And that's just management of knowing the world around you, right? I mean, these are the simple tasks of it. Earlier, you were talking about, we had a huge magnetic storm just came in. I don't know if people realize the last 2 days, the reason you guys were getting the northern lights was because of the ionosphere was getting electrocuted, so to speak, or it was Project Bluebeam. Do you want to weigh in on what we saw the last couple of days there on it?
Yeah, there were some ground level currents associated with that as well. So that, you're talking ionosphere about 100 miles up. That extended down to the ground in certain areas. Now, this happens all the time. And ground to sky lightning, like that's a discharge pattern, but it can also find its way in on field aligned currents or these wrapping currents, like the Spain power outage.
Right.
Remember in Spain, that occurred over there too. So, we haven't seen this really. At least maybe the news has given us a different way to look at it. But at least in my lifetime, except maybe in the 1980s when they had a solar storm and the whole Northeast blacked out, that was a very famous instance of overload on the grid. There's actually, since it's in the air, literally the air for us, but it's traveling through all those molecules that are the air. That charge that came down ripped and grabbed onto high voltage current cables and then spread across. So the cables we're used to had an extra voltage charge on them riding along. So that what was like a stable current was disrupted because there was more electricity on top. So let's say it's rated for 100. Well, maybe it went to 107 and then it's unstable on the wave as it's traveling down. We're talking about megawatts of power and extra. Even if it's voltage cables, you're talking extra 17, 18 volts on top of that on something that's riding 100. Like that's a lot of overcharge. And it's happened twice so far in just this last year. But closely look at that. The Spain power outage was directly related to that same exact phenomenon, that transference from the ionosphere to the ground. And then we just had another one right here across the planet in many places in the northern hemisphere. That's why there was so much disruption these last couple of days with your internet, and like devices aren't functioning. Like, damn, the phone won't. What's going on with my phone? What's going on with my computer? What's going on with my laptop? That's a direct result of what has just happened with an electrified planet.
Yeah. Well, I always refer to it as static. It's all this extra energy that's kind of sitting on everything and makes everything a little hot wired, a little dysfunction. It doesn't destroy, but it also makes your resistors overwork, makes capacitors overwork. You got all these different things that we've put into electronics to keep keep variables in electricity from destroying the items that we're working with, right? Now, we're all electrical.
Wait, static in the attic on channel Z, my friend. You need to continue with that capacitor, because that's truly is what an EMP is, that knocks out all of your electronics. So can you continue on that? It seems like you got a deep dive into it.
Oh, yeah, just the idea that when we think about, well, I wasn't going to go too far into that. What I always think about is I take selenium and I take other minerals, and I know that I'm a big crystal, and selenium is actually helps us with EMFs and radiation. And if we're not actually doing certain things to actually cleanse our body with grounding and other things like that, then we're not going to be able to handle this, and it will affect us in a real traumatic way, like people that live under high voltage power lines, for decades of their life. In the same way that we are a great big battery, and the Matrix said that, right, that we're a big battery, we have a lot of energy in us, but if we don't treat ourselves right, remineralization, doing the things that we need to do, then the static, the extra energy of things around us will cause us to dysfunction. Now, we have resistors and things in our power grid to say, oh, these are the things that won't cause it to blow up or overpower or underpower. It regulates that bandwidth. But we should be better than that. We should know that our bodies are the same way, and knowing that getting our feet in the ground, but also knowing that we're mineralizing and doing the right types of pH in our body so our battery works in the right way. People are dysfunctional nowadays when all the pH issues, being more acidic than they should be, their burn rate, how they burn through their body is actually going so much faster because their acidity is too high and that telomere is being burned off. I know I jumped on a bunch of topics there at once, but I know that you understand what I'm saying. There's a lot more to us than just flesh, and we're not just flesh, we're energy.
Oh, that's such a true statement. Now, your feet are the resistors and capacitors of your body.
Yeah.
Like when you ground, as Jim was talking about, that connection between your bare feet, skin onto, because I walked out in the field for about 10 minutes before I got on here, but I live out in the countryside, so I can walk wherever I want. I know what the grass is like. It's my property. I know where I can walk and it's soft and just go for a walk barefoot around.
Yeah.
But grounding is super, super important, especially during these times, like the Schumann resonance really just cranking up. That's like the baseline, what you're talking about, the base static rate or that millivolt charge in the air. Like that's at a static base rate of measurability, but that has jumped some exponential points up. Being, let's say 8, it's 7.8 on the Schumann, but let's say it's 8 for an even. It'd be up around 36, 42, something like that during this last event. So, well, when your baseline's 8, and the Schumann is pushing 40. Do you think you might feel a little bit emotional, like you might have some emotions that are coming out, things you just don't understand? You get super lazy, you get super excited, you can't control them, like all these things that would happen when you put more energy into a system. There you go. Now, fan will spin faster just for a little bit before it might short out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can handle it for a minute, but this is, can we simulate or not simulate, can we make similarities that when we have that agitation from like when the wind is blowing super hard here in Kansas, when we're getting a lot of that, when the internet, I say, well, the internet's off today because we've had a lot of high wind, and so it's building up that static on the outside of that nylon coating, that vinyl coating of that. But I feel it when I go outside, and I've kind of gotten different as I have detoxed my body, I have remineralized, I've been pushing in a different way. I'm down to 175. I just sit here naturally. I don't eat. I eat whatever I want when I want, but I eat in a good way. But when I go outside, when the high wind days are going, I just feel like it's like, God dang, like it's what's like I'm being touched everywhere. And, it's like, all right, wind, I'm done. I can't be with you today. You're just doing too much. Isn't that basically the same thing we're thinking of when we think of the solar storms coming in? It's that energy that's kind of coming in waves, but we are so dulled down and desensitized, we don't realize it's just an extra brick on the load we're already carrying.
Yeah, most people are very unaware. Like, when did you learn about this in school?
Right.
I mean, did you learn about this in your home ec class? No. I don't think so. Are you learning about it now? Are any of your kids bringing home homework or anything talking about this very same phenomena?
Yeah.
Like, this should be brought right along with electroculture and learning how to use copper wiring in your garden to get a higher yield without having to use so much fertilizer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, these things are not taught at all. Like how that charge in the air is consistently and constantly around you. Yeah. Now, Tesla had tapped into this, right, and that's when we had supposed free power. Those patents are in the early 1900s, late 1800s. Right. Yeah, I'll say that again, over 125, 130 years ago. to wirelessly to pull that power out to make a motor move. Magnets to get two things to spin oppositely, and we're using Earth's magnetic field, just spinning magnets.
So don't call it an energy generator. It's an energy concentrator, because you cannot create energy. You actually just concentrate it. And we always say, oh, I got a generator. I'm like, no, you got a concentrator. And if we all just learned how to make devices that concentrates the energy around us, would we need Bell Telephone, and would we need our local power company?
No, you wouldn't, because here's the most interesting thing. Like, if you're going to talk to the power company, I want to buy my electricity every month by the electron, because this alternating current, also it's just moving back and forth, the same one electron in the line. So you're getting cheated. They think have trained you as like a big bicycle chain where you're pulling all this stuff through the wire.
Right.
That insulation that you mentioned is only to encapsulate, so they can create the magnetic field on the outside of the wire to get that electron to vibrate. And at the point of your house, it's the same one back and forth. This is how my company, I want to pay by the electron.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not taught widely either.
I know. I know this stuff. Here's the problem. I did this stuff for the military. I'm the one that went in and did a lot of this stuff with them. And they would get so close to free energy. They would get right up next to it. Like, they knew, like, and then they just like, oh, we can't do that. It's like putting a solar panel on a Tesla car. Why isn't there a solar panel on the hood, the roof, and the trunk of every Tesla? Because the government won't let them. It's against the law. Did you know that? They cannot make a perpetual motion car. They can't pull the power off of the rotors as the car is going, as it's being powered. They have to not be powered, then be able to pull it off. That's why they do the braking generate collection. You understand that? You know about that stuff, right?
Yeah, regenerative braking. Like when you break down and it gets that stress between that, it causes the friction. Right.
But they won't allow for a caliper to be a passive rotor that they can just put a caliper on and pull power off of that, put that in a capacitor as the electric car is going down the road, regenerating power out of that with the solar panels. They don't want any of that. The government won't let that happen. But again, that's another thing.
But the braking generates power too. That's the whole thing. It's not just like you're thinking it's only solar panels. You're getting multiple ways that
they don't use any of them now. They're like, oh, we don't do that. Why? Like, that's right there. I mean, if your car's sitting outside right now, it'd be getting charged, right? But we don't realize our government is not here to help us. We keep thinking they're letting these things happen, but we're not getting the benefit. There is no true benefit to having an electric car. And if we don't get real serious about what an electric car could be. Because what we have today is a joke of electric car. That's the same thing they had you're talking about the 1800s, 1901.
Yeah, you're talking the 1886 model electric car is very similar to today's model.
Yeah, I'm like, we did nothing in 150 years? Like, okay, we got a battery and we got wheels. Duh. We didn't do anything extra. Why? Because the government won't let us. What about the inefficiencies of solar panels that are designed into them? That's a whole nother conversation. You've heard about that, haven't you?
The only way I would look at that rationally is you're forming a package for somebody to come and pick up. So you're putting the silica in there, you're putting the aluminum in there, you're putting the silver in it. And it's almost like a square package that's stackable, that if you moved it to another place, you're just moving materials that are already in a pre-stacked way on the other side, in the whatever application they're doing, they can disassemble that super easy into the raw, or the raw ingredients or materials again. It is so inefficient. The only thing is just like a transference of materials from one place to another. It's like the things we could have done. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I really believe with all this going on with the COVID restrictions and now the digital ID restrictions coming in, that there's something much greater that's just at the cusp, because to put into that, they haven't repaired or are not repairing our infrastructure very much. So it means that when we cross the line to this new, whatever it might be in front of us here after the event is over, they're not counting on using the same infrastructure or for it even being intact. Maybe it's just a non-usage thing where they will invent electric Vedics and we'll use the road systems, but in a different way. So even if they break apart, it won't matter. But just look at that. None of our infrastructure is being repaired. The entire world, as we see it, is shifting from normal like paper money into digital currency and stable coin issue and central bank digital currencies. You're going to have this digital ID to access food. And when you get to the food, so far, even as we speak today, they're already putting limits on what that will allow you to buy. Now, why is that? So we're heading into this world. Are they trying to make sure they know where everybody is after the event? Are they trying to get to the point where they're going to get you ready to ration food because our crop zones just aren't as robust and yield filled as they used to be? I mean, what is coming up? You've got countries jumping on bread baskets across the world in invasions to get that food growing area. We emptied out North Africa and the Sahel of all those tens of millions of fighting edge men, sent them up to Europe. And that is a new area where they could do a double rotation crop that's larger than the entire United States, not just our grow belt.
Right.
The entire land mass of the lower 48 is that one section of the grow zone. Yeah. They've never tapped those aquifers in the Nubian sandstone aquifer beneath, or the Sus aquifer, any of those giant aquifers under North Africa, Central Africa. I've never tapped them in like an industrial fashion, like we've ruined our croplands for 100 years. So think about that.
Yeah.
You start the new economy, you set up the grow zones, all the infrastructure needed to build out, obviously materials and investments, stock companies, okay, and then the water from beneath, and then the above ground water rainfall patterns are changing too with this more large, robust cycle.
Right.
Where much more rainfall's coming through the Sahel now. So they're getting the above ground and they could tap to beneath the ground. And that is a new growing area. But the problem was there was too many people that were living there that would say, give me part of the profit. And they're like, you're out of here. Oh, the resistors. Oh, they're going to resist. They already knew those men would resist. So they sent them off. So that we are getting very precariously close. I think they're at the very end of the send off of what would be resistance in North Africa and the Sahel outside. They're never coming back. Right. So they've thinned the numbers of the resistors out of there. And I think we're getting close to setting up a new grow zone in there. So military.
Right. Oh, so this is what Libya, the Kenya thing that Trump has been talking about, that grow belt right just above the Sahara band. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's not just a band. It runs the entire length of the continent.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm just, you were saying those things, they were queuing off little things there. So you're talking about moving into districts, right? Is this what we're doing? Is this what was that, the Hunger Games with that movie? Is that what we're trying to really go into now?
Not sure. I've seen those maps, though, where they show the 10 different areas. I wouldn't know if they were districts, but it seems like they're continental.
We'll call them areas, not districts.
Yeah. It's like areas, fenced in place.
Yeah, where you have to have a passport and money to cross across. And don't worry about all that. That's just normal. I mean, that's just
that
boundaries.
Invisible thing there, that stuff called air. You're not allowed to walk through unless you have our permission to walk through air.
Yeah. What was that? What was the movie, the cartoon with you had to buy canned air? Remember that? I can't think of what that stupid thing. It
2025. That's the
well, yeah. I was gonna say, no, 2026. Welcome to you, brand canned air. No, it was the one with the elephant who had the little what's his name? Her to who? And they had cans of air. Did you remember that? And they were cutting down all the little Q-tip looking trees. And anyway, it was long. All right, I'm out of here. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Keep it going, man. I'm just trying to visualize it.
It's like
ChatGPT.
Yeah, it was.
Give us an image.
It was something who heard a who, and it was a Dr. Seuss book, and then they turned it into a little cartoon. But basically, they were running around and they were, breathing corporate air. You want real air, and you'd have a can of air. You wouldn't just. It wasn't the air around you? Like, I don't know. It's special. So anyway, I don't know. So what's the benefit to that? Do we become the outlaws that are like Mad Max? Is it Mad Max, or is it another form of that, or is it the Hunger Games? I mean, what are you seeing it coming to at the end here? What are they trying for?
What if it's none of that?
Well, that'd be great. That's what I want.
Yeah, in the end, so when you're looking at these changes in the sun, you're looking at on the smaller of the cycles, a 400-year cycle in solar activity, where we come into a really low period.
Yeah.
Crops fail. And what if you're coming into a set of 5 of those where it's a more powerful cycle on once in a 2,000-year cycle?
Right.
Once we get it up into this.
That's extinction level, right?
No.
It's a thinning cycle.
Human changing.
Yeah, there you
go. It
go.
would be human changing in terms of consciousness.
Right.
In terms of our physiology, in terms of the way our hemispheres of our brains, the lobes of our brains process information. So the very next generation born into that would be their state field for the magnetic field, where ours is, we were born at a certain time with a certain strength in the magnetic field. Now, since I've been alive, it's dropped 20%. So if you think that your brain might operate in a slightly different magnetic field alignment, and you would know more about that.
Yeah. Well, what if
we're coming into a time where all of these magnetic anomalies, and if you believe in the yuga cycles, we're rising in vibration daily. So when you're talking about, imagine if our average continuous electrical frequencies continue going up and up and up for the next, say, 8,000 years from this point, daily, getting stronger until it reaches an apex, and then it starts to diminish every day. And every year for the next, 6,000 years, and
Yeah.
it comes back down, and then it starts this ramp up. Well, we've just started the increase from like the 6 o'clock position, going back up, and energetic intensity increases on the daily, on the yearly, on the decadely, on the century, on the millennia, upward.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the reason I think government's trying to hold on so hard, is because the systems they set up in this darker, lower vibrational energy aren't going to hold us anymore.
Right. So this
So they're
is part
trying
of
to
the
jump ahead to get the grasp while it's rising. So it's kind of like Gretzky. They already set the thing up where you get up into the puck.
yeah.
They'll puck you.
Right. So this is this is where we're seeing the age of Aquarius, when people talk about the new energy, the new positivity you can't control, but also the Great Awakening. A lot of these things seem to fall in place, and then even there was the rumor that went around in 2012. The elitists understood that they would not be able to control us anymore. Let me ask you a quick question here. Have you noticed in the past decade, or maybe 8 to 10, I mean, I say decade, that's 10 years, but in the last 8 years or maybe in 4 years, has the sun been whiter and not as yellow as we used to remember? Am I imagining that, or is that my LED brain getting washed out here?
No, that's correct. And I mean, everybody can attest to it. Now, they will try to tell you it's because of some sky anomaly, or you're looking through clouds, or you're looking through something in the sky that's bending it and making it a white color with some sort of pollutant or dispersal.
Yeah.
And they've normalized that. So you should be asking the question, okay, if it was yellow 20 years ago and it's now white, and they're telling you it's something that we industrially have put in the atmosphere, like, wait a minute, that's okay.
You mean the reformulation of jet fuel they did 12 or 14 years ago that took fluorocarbons out, that causes a certain aerosol effect to happen easier? You mean that?
Well, I can't use my Nair haze spray because it's going to release the CFCs up and destroy the ozone, that particular type of chlorofluorocarbon.
That actually wasn't bad? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Are you telling me it wasn't bad? Are you telling me we could have big bar hair? Oh, if you're telling me I could still have big bar hair and those jackasses took it away from me because of their stupid regulation, because I can't have final net big bar hair from these women, I am rolling some tables. Jesus, let's get it done. Are you?
Yes, it's coming back. It's coming back. I got you a 50-gallon drum with its own pressure.
Man, the government did.
The pressure comes with it.
The government got me again. They took my big bar hair away. Sorry, Dave. I just go off on little things here and there. I appreciate your sticking to the topic. What do we do? Do we know what is actually causing the whiteness of the sun? Is it because of what they've done with the glitter or whatever it is that they, who can't find out who is the number one purchaser of glitter on Earth? Or what are they doing? Are they screwing with us? Or have they figured out how to get the sun deflected?
Or the sun has actually turned white in its irradiance, and they don't want to spook the planet that the sun has changed color. So for the normal person, you go, it's yellow, it's white. Okay, the easier sell. Fairy dust, fairy metal dust.
So they don't know.
It is to try to say, by the way, humans on the planet, it's changed from yellow to white. And this one of the leaders at NASA a few years ago published a book, said it's going to turn blue. So next step down in the irradiance spectrum is probably going to be blue, according to John Casey. And if you ever read his first book, Cold Sun, right on there, the angstrom wavelength is blue. So that transition from yellow to white. And if we see this blue tinge, then that sort of comes into the blue star Kachina and all these kind of, more ancient of prophecy coming from first peoples.
What's the name of the book? What's the name of that book? What is it? What's the name?
Cold Sun.
Cold Sun.
John Casey was the author, and a gentleman at his highest, and he had a distinguished 30-year career at NASA, and he was lead investigator on the space shuttle disaster. Now, this guy at the top of the creme de la creme in NASA during that period when things really mattered. It mattered if you could do the engineering on paper at that time. Like, you had to be incredibly smart to get in that program. I know there was a few shoe-ins politically, but anyway, you had to be really at the top of the nation's smartest people to get in there. 30-year career, and he starts talking about solar cycles, and cycles in the sun were responsible for really low solar activity collapses civilizations because they lose their crop yields, and that type of low solar activity, the jet streams can go out of their flow, and that's the reason that the rainfall patterns change, and why there's massive floods in some areas and droughts in others, because the magnetic field that locks tight and that locks that pattern in. But once it gets really weak, like 2 solar cycles of no solar activity, that'd be a regular grand solar minimum.
Right.
And he started to pick these things out over the last 12,000 years.
Right.
And once he started to show that and talk about it public, he lost his career. They raked him through the coals. He had nothing. He was very bitter at the end.
But that's what science says the sun does, is go through cycles. Why are they rejecting exactly what they say the sun does? I know that, and I'm not a sun scientist. But they're saying the sun scientist was wrong for saying that it goes through cycles?
Right, because it didn't go along with the global warming, human CO2 caused narrative. See, that was the whole thing they were trying to sell most back in especially around 2012 and 13. They were really, again, if you're looking at
that's when they were losing the control of things. They were trying to get as much wet blanket on the society as possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're the cause of everything. So that allowed them so quickly. The Agenda 2030 goals, yeah, they're about control, but they're not about the control in the same way you think it is. The Agenda 2030 goals are the allowance of things to be put in place because of the changes you're seeing that are expected coming. There's nothing to do with we're trying to save the planet. It's a control mechanism net of all these different parts that'll be sandwiched around the globe in unison, but they need that in place before this event were to happen. So instead of coming out and say, by the way, the sun's going to turn blue, we're only going to have enough food to probably feed 3/4 of the world's population. And I want you to keep going to work tomorrow, obey the rule of law, and pay your taxes. Okay. By the way, but if that is not happening, that's the sell. And then the next layer is the geoengineering. Like you can get people to say, all right, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
Why does a conversation with a gentleman that was saying it was radiation, cosmic radiation management, that those nanoparticulates, when you're looking at different kind of galactic cosmic rays or different kind of cosmic rays, but each of them has a charge that comes in. Gamma particles, alpha particles, beta particles, whoosh, they come in. And once they hit a small piece of metal, they lose their charge, so they can no longer build a cloud on the way down.
So they're using the commercial airline.
Energetically, wait, Jim, let me finish here for 2 seconds.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
If that energetic particle comes in and hits a piece of metal and it is still energized, that will create a cascading effect that then comes down to the base, these muons for the cloud droplets. And that's what the clouds form off of. So the more cosmic rays that hit those, they're nullified at that point. If they come in and just cascade in the atmosphere and start hitting atomic particles and dust and all these things, ash in the air, they cascade down and create cloud building. And the research was done. If there's no mitigation done and there's nothing to remove the electric charge that's going to be coming in from cosmic rays, then we would have a 7x increase in floods, because that is the known ratio now, a 7x increase on incredibly low solar activity periods where more cosmic rays come in. They build 7 times more clouds during those periods. And this is one of the reasons that leads to all these floods, villages washed away, rivers going out, crop lost, soggy, can't plant. And this is one of the reasons that crop yields decline. Is this a direct relationship? So part of this program for geoengineering, at least as I was told, is cosmic radiation management to knock down all, or not all, but many incoming galactic cosmic rays, nullify the charge, and then it won't cloud build. But they need to sell to the people that it's geoengineering, because cosmic radiation management, if we stop, the amount of floods on the planet is going to increase by 7 times.
Right.
Like that is a hard sell.
They're letting us blame them for the geoengineering when they actually don't know how to control what is really coming at them, and they don't know how to explain it to you. So they don't know, and they know what's happening, but they don't know how to change it or how to explain it. And so they're just like, "Oh, we're doing it." Is that what you're telling me?
But there's no way to control it.
Yeah, so they're just
those
like,
energetic particles are coming from outside our star system. It is including our star.
Yeah,
but we're talking outside the star.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like light years away of this stuff just pelting through. There's no way to stop it. So
we're hurtling through space. By the way, I don't know if anybody forgot that we were like,
we're moving with a corkscrew
flying through a space. Like, so this is.
But it's a known cycle. That's the thing. It's a known cycle.
But this goes back to the Tartaria of things. When we got all these old buildings they can't explain, and they're like, "Oh, we built those during the Civil War. What are you talking about, Jimmy?" I mean, this is again they don't know, and so they just make it up. Is that what we're really up against, Dave? I mean, this is the leadership of the Earth. Is they really kind of make it up as they go along?
I think it's just rewriting history to obfuscate the cycle that's always known. So you got to think about collections of information.
Right. God,
yeah, like who has the information of these known cycles? And for me, it's about the onset, and then you get into the intensification phase, and then you get into the apex phase. Well, if you knew this, that we are definitely in the amplification phase right now.
Right.
The beginning of it was, a few years back. I would say right around 2018, 19. Now, just walk, if you want to, let me do my mind experiment with y'all. Mm-hmm. At that point, they were already talking about yields not being enough across the planet and like coming into the year 2019.
Right.
So we got the banking crisis where the repo market was almost collapsing at the end of that. There's a huge amount of news of financial crisis coming in. Nobody's looking at the crop yield reports.
Right.
And then suddenly COVID comes in. And what do? They shut down the universities. They shut down all the catering. They shut down all the restaurants. So think about the extra amount of food that got pumped into family homes where when I was living in China, they did a huge amount of research on feeding communally. It didn't work because people would not finish all their food. They would just sit down with another bowl of food and meet a friend and then waste the entire bowl. But if you're cooking at home, you generally do leftovers at least once.
Right.
So the amount of food wasn't noticeable because they rationed it and took everybody off and redirected the food for those years. But obviously we reached that inflection point where there was a stability, like carrying capacity, equality or equal zone there. And now we've stepped down again. So as we come into 2025 and 26, we're starting to see a more ratchet of control and like really fast implementation.
Right.
Again, it comes down. Our global governments have never done this in the entire history of the world, except 2019 for COVID and beginning it again right now with the digital ID. So I think it all revolves around food again. Now, this time, instead of removing people from the planet, closing all the businesses, all the small and mom and pop businesses that railroaded every interaction into just large stock market listed companies,
right?
They're going to be the gatekeepers of what's available in the future. So if that is
Taco
food,
Bell wins the fast food wars like in Demolition Man.
Yeah, like the AI data centers. There shall be only one Highlander. These data centers are wiping each other out to then suck the power into themselves and grow twice as large.
This is so childish. I mean, David, this is not creative, is it? This is just really weak, lack of leadership, lack of risk, risk aversion. Like this is all risk aversion, right? Isn't that what we're doing by creating these these great, huge, big companies? There's no risk of a mom and pop going out of business if it's Taco Bell. Is that what we're doing?
No, it's because they need to railroad all usefulness, functionality, and access through the Fortune 5s because they will implement what governments cannot implement directly themselves through legislation because it would be unpopular. Look how many stores you had to stand out in front. You had to wear the mask. You had to be 6 feet apart. Oh, don't bellyache to the guard. He's just doing his job.
Yeah, he's just doing his job. Jackass.
Just doing the job. Yeah.
Right.
And then, people revolted against that, late 2022, say mid 23, kind of ended because everybody had enough of it.
Well, that's what the dopamine restriction through the blue light therapy that these lights all do to us, our phones or computers. That's why when we were talking on the stream, when we first got on here, I had these on when I started. And I don't wear glasses usually, but I've been doing this, and I will tell you, I think I can see through the matrix now. It is so disturbing to see how hard they are manipulating the blue lights in us that it's like, oh, really? That's what you guys are doing? You guys are jackasses. When I wear these yellow ones during the day and the red ones at night, I think I'm seeing why it is what they're doing and why they're doing and why things are very interesting when they're really not. When you have these on, a lot of the shit that we couch lock for, we binge, Netflix and binge or whatever it is. I don't see. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't want.
Maybe that's the pattern. Maybe that's the receiving pattern in the blue light wavelength. That's where the message is delivered through a single spectrum in the wavelength of light to you.
But
not as a complete message. Like I'm standing here talking on the camera, you can see me 3D. There's quite a bit more going on. But if you could reduce me down to a single spectrum of light, and then sandwich this message right now subliminally into what you're watching as just one level of light that's delivering a different message the whole time.
Now
light, again, it's photons, it's energy, it's consciousness. So could it not be reprogrammed to move itself and carry a message differently? Yeah. Of course it could.
Well, the non-ocular visual receptors that are in the eye that actually are 100 times or 1,000 times more, there's 1,000 times more of those than the rods and cones that we think we see through. There's these non-ocular receptors in the eye that they know they can program. I mean, they use it to move cattle nowadays. They still do it. They learned in 1908 that they could use blue light and frequency to move cattle. They knew that. Now, I have cattlemen tell me today, yeah, we still do that today. Blue light and frequency, they can move herds of cattle without ever touching them. So again, with the Netflix and chill, which is the grandson of the guy who invented MK Ultra, Isn't that all DARPA shit where they're blue lights, and that's where they went to the LEDs? That's why Obama outlawed incandescent lights and pushed us to LED so that we had the hyper blue lights, which is all the blue lights that during the COVID era of things, when everybody was all freaking out about the blue lights, they thought that was the programming was the fact that the blue lights were always there, but the white fell away, and you saw the blue lights. That's where we should have been mad, because that's what everybody was doing in COVID, staying in, getting all these LEDs, and now you don't want to fight. But you got enough energy to tip-tap and be mad at each other on a keyboard, right? This is they've got us. We're a bunch of monkeys. God. All right, Dave, you always get me wound up.
I don't know. Does the color yellow blend through that? Speaking of bananas, what would it be used for? And by the way, you bad blue light people, you stole the Cowboys' jobs.
Well,
you got to think about this. You and your fancy drones pulling blue lights everywhere. You took all these Cowboys' jobs. You're already getting outsourced by AI. So if you're a cowboy, beware of the blue lights. Some people say beware of the white lights in the forest. Whatever. Same, but different, I guess.
Is it Sasquatch or is it Bigfoot? Which one?
It's definitely Sasquatch.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I'm a Bigfoot guy. So.
Sabe is another name you might be familiar with.
It's tribal, man. I'm Bigfoot. I can't believe you believe in Sasquatch.
Fully, man. They have their own culture. You just don't know enough about them. You're an outsider.
Oh, I'm not one of us. One of us. One of us. Oh,
yeah, but think about the changes coming in here. Just on a serious note, why is so much money being spent that there's going to be so many trillions in losses just at the speed they're doing it that it's just out of sync and out of balance. So whatever they're doing has to be redone, and that amount of money just pushing us over this goal line. It's like somebody saying, you need to push them over the line.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how sloppy it is. You're not going to dance. I don't care if you dance over the line, jump over the line, 1 foot hop over the line, roll over the line, and you get shoved over that line. You're going to get over it because there's always these must-do dates for all the legislation and the different global governance structure goals got to be done by this. I'm telling you, somebody knows the absolute intensification point where it can't be hidden from society anymore. We are super dangerously close in there. We are close.
Whatever
wouldn't be moving this fast and this sloppily to get everybody onto a new system unless it was really this close.
That's what there's something, and if it's not the Great Awakening or whatever it is, whatever this wet fish to the face, it's coming. And I don't know if it's the digital collapse. I don't know if it's the whatever, but it's coming. And the panic, like you said, the whole idea that we're rushing to AI. Why is it that suddenly we're willing to put $40 trillion into AI in 1 year? Like, why is that globally the investment for AI, all these big places? And AI is not that cool. We had Ask Jeeves. AI was forward-facing in Japan in 2000, the year 2000. Japan had AI forward-facing. Why are we all running to this $40 trillion investment of AI? Is there something else about these data centers that are they trying to capture as much knowledge, or what are they really doing there?
Well, they're setting up the new Library of Alexandria to contain all of Earth's information. Now, there's a better chance if you have it spread out over 5 continents and 5 very large islands, if there was something to do with a magnetic field anomaly or some sort of geomagnetic pole shift or some sort of, Earth eruptions or something like this that are not, Earth's not tilting over, but, a BEI 8 or 9 eruption, something really gigantic that we haven't seen in like 6,000 years pops off.
All right.
Somebody knows there's an event coming here that has to do with the magnetic field, the way the rainfalls go. There's not going to be enough food, and there's going to be some geologic events. So they are spreading the risk. This new data center is, in my opinion, to catalog every single human on the planet, understand what they are, know more intimately than they know themselves, and then recategorize them for some sort of task after all of this event comes.
So the
but at the same time,
after, good.
Yeah, at the same time, this is going to be a Library of Alexandria in a modern form. No kidding, because there was parchments and papers that burnt back in the day, supposedly, with the most information about the entire world in one single installation. Yeah. So they're just replicating that again.
And we just can't be honest about that. So we can all just quit bombing each other and being pissed off and shooting each other in the streets. Can we all just say, hey guys, can we all get through this if we all get small community again with a town square and make a real effort to get back to Mother Earth in a way, not Mother Earth to worship, but in the idea that we're putting the mushrooms in the ground and we're not using glyphosates and nitrogens and phosphates. We're actually letting the soil heal itself, and we work with the environment in a way that actually is in balance and in tune, but yet we're too stupid for that? I mean, is that they kind of educated out of us? Is that what we've done?
Yeah, think about the Victory Gardens in World War II. 40% of all food grown in America was, well, I should say the other way around. All the food consumed in America, 40% of that was grown here and consumed here. And that
Right.
was because of the war effort. So if we got it to the point of 40% of all anything eaten in America was done by the people themselves.
Yeah.
But then after that, how quickly was it before the supermarket ads came out with the air conditioner and the new refrigerator? Like that was almost instant, with those big white refrigerators where the kid would get in and suffocate. And like when I was a kid, you might find one of those like thrown away in a backfield far back somewhere on somebody's property, like half leaning up this way, where you could get into a lock and you can't get out from the inside.
But you know what? There's a guy called Dustman on TikTok, and he revives those, and he will show that they use 1/3 of the power of these Energy Star stupid ones do now. He's like, this thing, it's like one was in a fire. He's like, look, and it's all charred. The cord is all crispy, and he's like, watch this, and he plugs it in. Why'd I go out of focus? He plugs it in, and he goes dunk, and he puts a meter reader on it, and it's literally 1/3 of what the Energy Star right next to it is doing. How is that possible? Oh, because we're a bunch of idiots. We had better technology 100 years ago than we have now. I really believe that. I think we've gotten dumber.
Oh, I'd say the same thing with all the appliances. The only thing they did was they substituted TV to make it super crappy, like just static and everything. That was the only thing that never improved. So in your mind, as you got a new TV, you started to think because the new TV, the new tech, the new refrigerator must be the new tech too.
Right.
Other than kids die and suffocate in their kind of refrigerator, but they could have built internal latches in that.
Well, and again, that was very few of those. Most of those were just magnetic seal locks, like everything else.
Yeah, the magnetic stripping, but it was really, strong magnet.
Well, yeah, because they wanted to stay shut. It's like, I don't get it. But kids were not stupid. We didn't do stupid things like that. And again, whatever. I just hate the laziness of the human, and we'll blame.
But wait, those magnetic strips that were along the refrigerator, then the little channels between the magnetic strips, those were filled with mercury. Didn't you know it? They're so dangerous. You got to throw them away.
Oh,
no comment. Danger, Will Robinson.
Mercury doesn't cross the blood-brain membrane, but anyway.
But it does produce power with an electric field under it. Spins like a champ.
Better stay away from that dangerous shit because you might learn something. Everything they told us that was bad for us has been good for us, and everything they said that was good for us is bad for us. Aspartame, all the other shit. Dave, it has been fantastic having you on this hour, sir. Thank you so much for the great stuff. You get on a roll, you get me freaked out, you get me all wound up, I get all spun up. You get me
it's
thinking.
The energy now, man. It's the solar flare, not me. Don't even blame me. It was the CME, bro.
It wasn't me. It was the government. What a crazy time to live in. I tell you, Dave, I love jumping into this cycle. I'm glad I'm a human being alive right now, watching the cycle that we are going through. I have enjoyed the journey to get to where I am now, and I hope I can educate as many people as possible with folks like you to tell them to get a hold of get a hold of your own feet. Find out that your feet hurt because you don't touch the ground. Find out that your world is a better place if you get out and experience the world in a real way and understand the patterns that Dave is talking about. These are all patterns. I love patterns. I'm a pattern-driven person. I see it all the time. So the fact that Dave is out there telling us about the solar storms, telling us about the digital ID that everybody's in a big panic to suddenly move to, which is also part of blockchain and the new, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Dave, give us some closing statements before we get you out of here and it's in the show.
Yeah, next time you see there's a gigantic solar storm coming, huge CME, cannibal CME. Make sure you get to a mountaintop so you can feel the plasma coming out of the air.
Heal the body, right? Heal the soul.
Yeah. The Civilization Cycle podcast. That's my podcast. And thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely, man.
That's why it's called Civilization Cycle, because this is a cycle, a sine wave.
It's not that
sinusoidal wave.
It's not that.
There's some bumps along the way.
Well, it's called a frequency. It's got valleys and peaks, right? And it's variable, and that's okay.
And measurable.
It is variable, but measurable, and it has a pattern, but no pattern. Anyway, I love it, dude.
How about you can write that pattern down and then have a possible cycle right at your fingertips, 100 or 1,000 years in front of somebody else.
Mayan calendar said what? What are you talking about? They put it in stone even for you, Dave. They told you. All right, man. Thank you so much, Dave, for everything. It's good seeing you, man.
Bye for now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining. I hope you got something out of the video. Please visit our sponsors, vni.life/civilization. the gut bundle for you. That link's in the description box below. And please support us, buymeacoffee.com/civilization cycle if you like information like this. And until next time, bye for now.